The casket gleamed under the harsh fluorescent lights of St. Mary's Episcopal Church in Elmwood, Ohio, a box of polished oak that looked too final, too empty to hold the man who'd built their lives with calloused hands and unspoken rules. Billy Harlan stood at the back of the pews, his fingers twisting the program until it shredded like confetti from a party no one wanted, the weight of 3 generations of Harlan men pressing down on his narrow shoulders. And then Marcus walked in late, as always, his leather jacket slung over one arm, eyes locking onto Billy's like a lifeline thrown into a storm, whispering without words, "I'm here, but God, what have we done?" Billy had always been the quiet one, the son who faded into the wallpaper of their family's sprawling Victorian on Maple Street. While his older brother, Tom, roared through high school football fields and charmed every girl at the county fair, Billy sketched in the margins of his notebooks, secret maps of hidden trails in the Hocking Hills, faces that looked suspiciously like the boys from the swim team. Their father, Earl Harlan, a retired auto worker from the GM plant in Lordstown, had raised them on a steady diet of John Wayne movies, Budweiser, and the firm belief that real men didn't cry, didn't question, didn't dare to be anything but straight as the Ohio River on a map. Harlans keep their heads down and their hearts locked. Earl would grunt over dinner, his voice gravel from years of chain-smoking Camels, eyes flicking past Billy like he was a smudge on the tablecloth. But secrets have a way of rotting from the inside, like the apple in the garden that no one saw coming. Billy's first crush hit him at 16, a fleeting thing on the lifeguard stand at Lake Logan, where the sun baked the docks and the water smelled of algae and freedom. It was Jake from the next town over, with sun-bleached hair and a laugh that cut through the humid air like a knife through butter. Billy spent that summer stealing glances, heart pounding harder than the bass at the drive-in theater, until one night under the stars, fireflies blinking like Morse code, he leaned in, lips brushing Jake's in a kiss that tasted like chlorine and possibility. It lasted 3 weeks, all stolen moments in the boathouse, hands fumbling with zippers and promises. Then Jake ghosted him, off to college with a scholarship and a girlfriend from Akron, leaving Billy with a hollow ache and the first scar on his soul. Earl never knew, of course. No one did, except the journal Billy buried under the loose floorboard in his room, pages filled with ink that bled like confessions. High school blurred into community college at Hocking Tech, where Billy studied graphic design because it let him hide behind screens and pixels, crafting logos for local bait shops and diners. He dated Sarah from the library once, a sweet girl with freckles and a collection of Nancy Drew novels, but it felt like wearing his brother's hand-me-downs, close enough to pass, but chafing in all the wrong places. "You're such a gentleman, Billy," she'd said, pecking his cheek after a milkshake at the Elmwood Diner. He smiled, nodded, and drove home alone, the radio crooning George Strait's Amarillo by morning like a taunt. That's when Marcus crashed into his life, literally, on a rain-slick stretch of Route 33 in the fall of his 22nd year. Billy was hauling a load of flea market finds for his side gig restoring old furniture, a chipped rocking chair destined for some yuppie's Airbnb, when the pickup ahead hydroplaned into a spin-out. Tires screeched, horns blared, and suddenly there was Marcus's beat-up Ford Ranger fishtailing across the median, clipping Billy's fender with a crunch that echoed like thunder. They both pulled over under a billboard advertising Buckeye bourbon, rain sheeting down in biblical fury, and stepped out cursing the weather gods. "You all right?" Marcus yelled over the downpour, his dark curls plastered to his forehead. A tattoo of a compass rose peeking from the collar of his flannel shirt. Billy wiped water from his eyes, heart slamming not from the wreck but from the way Marcus's hazel eyes caught the flash of lightning. Stormy, alive, pulling him in like gravity. Yeah, man. You, Marcus grinned, sheepish and sharp, extending a hand slick with rain. Marcus Reed. Just moved here from Cincinnati. Swear to God. This state's roads are out to get me. Billy Harlan, he replied, grip firm despite the tremor in his chest. Born and raised in this mud pit, they exchanged insurance cards under the inadequate shelter of Billy's tailgate, laughing about near misses and the idiocy of driving in an Ohio squall. By the time the tow truck arrived for the other guy, Marcus had invited Billy for coffee at the all-night Waffle House off the exit. To apologize properly, he said, that grin widening. And maybe buy you a grand slam for the trouble. Billy should have said no. Should have driven home to his empty duplex, heated up a frozen burrito, and scrolled through Grindr with the lights off. But something in Marcus's voice, rough around the edges like good whiskey, tugged at the thread he'd spent years knotting tight. So he went, and over pecan waffles drowning in syrup, they talked. Marcus was 24, a freelance photographer chasing stories for indie mags, abandoned steel mills in Youngstown, queer pride marches in Columbus, the quiet desperation of Appalachia. He'd grown up in a split level in Price Hill, mom a nurse, dad a ghost after the divorce, and he'd come out at 17 in a blaze of glory that ended with a black eye from his uncle at Thanksgiving. Family's complicated, Marcus shrugged, tracing the rim of his mug. But fuck 'em if they can't handle the truth. Billy nodded, throat tight, the words he'd never spoken aloud echoing in his skull. That night, they parted with a hug that lingered too long. Marcus's cologne, cedar, and smoke, lingering on Billy's jacket like a brand. Texts started the next day, memes about bad drivers, links to Marcus's photo essays, invitations to grab beers at the Rusty Nail. Billy told himself it was friendship, the kind he'd always craved but never chased. But when Marcus showed up at his door 2 weeks later with a six-pack and a bottle of Maker's Mark, the air crackled with the unspoken. They sat on Billy's sagging porch, the October chill nipping at their knuckles, stars pricking the velvet sky like secrets waiting to spill. You ever feel like you're living someone else's life? Marcus asked, voice low, passing the bottle. Billy took a swig, the burn steadying him. Every damn day, Marcus turned, eyes searching. Then let's not tonight. The kiss happened slow, deliberate, Marcus's hand cupping Billy's jaw, thumb brushing stubble, lips parting with a sigh that tasted of bourbon and relief. Billy's world tilted, the porch spinning under him as hands roamed, shirts tugged free, skin meeting skin in the cool night air. They stumbled inside, a tangle of limbs and laughter, falling onto the thrift store couch where Billy had mended so many broken things. Marcus moved like he knew every map of Billy's body, kisses trailing fire down his neck, fingers mapping scars Billy didn't know he had. It was messy, urgent, perfect, whispers of God. Yes, and I've wanted this mingling with the creak of springs and the distant howl of a coyote. After, tangled in sheets that smelled of them, Marcus traced lazy circles on Billy's chest. No regrets. Billy shook his head, voice rough. None, but regrets are patient hunters, and they came calling soon enough. Earl's health had been slipping for months, shortness of breath during his morning walks, cough that rattled like loose change. The diagnosis hit like a freight train, stage 3 lung cancer, the kind that doesn't forgive. Billy moved back into the family home on Maple Street to help, trading his duplex solitude for the creak of floorboards and the ghost of his father's expectations. Marcus became a fixture in the background, dropping off groceries, fixing the leaky faucet in the kitchen, his camera slung around his neck like armor. Tom, ever the golden boy, flew in from his sales job in Chicago, wife and 2 kids in tow, turning every visit into a performance of normalcy. Earl liked Marcus, in that gruff Harlan way. "Good kid," he'd mutter from his recliner, oxygen mask fogging with each breath. "Got a steady eye. You two oughta start a business. Fixin' up junk like you do." Billy would smile, throat closing, while Marcus shot him a wink across the room. But the lies piled up like snowdrifts. Stolen kisses in the garage when Tom was at the store, hurried handjobs in the upstairs bathroom during family dinners, Marcus's truck idling at the end of the block for late-night escapes to the hills. It was a house of cards, beautiful and brittle, and Billy knew one gust could topple it. The end came swift, in the dead of a February night when the wind howled off the Scioto River like a banshee. Earl coded twice in the ambulance, his hand clutching Billy's like a vice, eyes wide with the terror he never voiced. "Proud of you, son," he rasped in the ER, monitors beeping a dirge. "Always were." Billy held on until the line flatlined, the room shrinking to a pinpoint of grief. The funeral was set for a gray March morning, the church packed with auto workers in ill-fitting suits, neighbors clutching casseroles, Tom's kids fidgeting in starched collars. Billy stood in the vestibule, tie choking him, watching the procession file in cousins from Zanesville, Earl's old foreman from the plant, even Jake, all grown up with a receding hairline and a polite nod that twisted the knife. And then Marcus walked in, his presence a thunderclap in the hush. Marcus slid into the pew beside Billy without a word, his knee brushing Billy's in silent solidarity, the heat of it a lifeline amid the chill of polished wood and wilted lilies. The organ swelled with amazing grace, off-key and earnest, as the pallbearers, Tom at the front, shoulders squared like he was carrying the weight of legacy, hoisted the casket with practiced grunts. Billy's eyes burned, not from tears but from the effort of holding them back. The Harlan creed echoing in his skull. Men don't break. But God, he was fracturing, hairline cracks spiderwebbing from the core where Marcus's touch had once mended him. The service dragged, Reverend Hargrove's voice a drone of platitudes. Earl Harlan was a pillar of this community, a man of quiet strength, punctuated by sniffles and the rustle of Kleenex. Tom spoke first, eulogy polished from a note card, tales of little league home runs, fishing trips to Alum Creek, the time Earl rebuilt the '72 Chevy Impala from scrap. "Dad taught us to stand tall," Tom concluded, voice cracking just enough to earn nods of approval. No matter the storm. Applause rippled, muted and respectful, as he returned to his seat, Emily dabbing his eyes with a lace handkerchief. Billy's turn came like a summons to the gallows. He rose on legs of lead, the congregation's eyes pinning him like specimens under glass. Curious, pitying, expectant. The quiet son, the one who'd never shone, now tasked with summing up a life in 5 minutes flat. He cleared his throat, the microphone feedback a shrill accusation, and gripped the podium until his knuckles whitened. Words he'd rehearsed in the mirror, safe, sanitized, fled like startled deer. Dad, he started, voice steady at first, the lie of composure. He built things. Cars at the plant, birdhouses in the garage, this family from nothing. He didn't say much, but what he said stuck. Like, keep your chin up, Billy boy. even when the world felt like it was caving in. Murmurs of agreement, a few amens. Safe harbor. But then Marcus shifted in the pew, his gaze a tether pulling Billy under, and the dam cracked. Images flooded. Earl's last days, morphine dreams where he'd murmur about that boy from the war, a lover lost in the Pacific, buried with the medals in a cigar box Billy found after the funeral. The old man had carried his own secrets, heavy as lead, and in death, they'd lightened just enough for Billy to see the path. I spent my life trying to be the son he wanted, Billy continued, the words tumbling now, raw and unfiltered. Quiet. Steady. The one who fixed what's broken without making a fuss. But Dad. He knew. About me. About who I am. The room stilled, a collective inhale sharp as shattered glass. Tom's brow furrowed from the front row, Emily's hand freezing mid-dab. Billy pressed on, heart hammering like a piston. He saw it before I did, the way I looked at the world, the sketches in my room not of girls but of possibilities. And he loved me anyway. Not loud, not with hugs or I love yous, but in the quiet way he did everything. Leaving that journal out one day, the one with his letters from 45. Telling me, in his gruff voice, life's too short for half measures. Son, whispers now, ripples spreading, what's he on about? Harlan men don't. Billy's eyes found Marcus, locked there, the truth a floodgate swinging wide. And that's why today, at Dad's funeral, I'm not keeping quiet anymore. Because he wouldn't want me to. The man I love, have loved for 2 years, is sitting right there. He pointed, unerring, to Marcus, who sat frozen, color draining from his face. Marcus Reed. My partner. The one who fixed my truck. My heart. Everything Dad couldn't fix with tools alone. Chaos erupted soft at first. A gasp from Aunt Lorraine. A cough masking shock from the foreman. Then swelling to a buzz like angry bees. Tom surged to his feet, face thunderous, striding toward the podium with the fury of a man betrayed. Billy! What the hell? Sit down. You're drunk or something. But Billy didn't budge. The podium his barricade. No, Tom. It's time. Dad's gone. And I'm done pretending. Marcus and I. We've built something real. In the shadows because I was scared. Scared of this, of you, of everyone judging. But love isn't a shadow. It's the damn light. Marcus stood then, slow as dawn, his hand reaching out across the aisle like a bridge over chasm. The congregation fractured, some averting eyes, others leaning in with morbid fascination. A few old Miss Hargrove from the library, nodding with quiet approval. Reverend Hargrove cleared his throat, attempting redirection, but the moment had teeth, sinking deep. Tom reached Billy, grip iron on his arm. You're ruining everything. Dad's funeral. Get off there before. Before what? Billy wrenched free, voice breaking like thunder. Before you disown me? Like you haven't already. With your perfect life in Chicago. Pretending Elmwood's just a postcard. The brothers faced off, inches apart, the casket a silent witness between them. Memories clashed. Boyhood forts in the backyard. Tom shoving Billy into the mud for acting soft. Earl pulling them apart with a belt whip of warning. Harlan's stick together, he'd bark. But sticking meant suffocating, and Billy was gasping for air. Marcus stepped forward, voice calm as a shutter click. Tom, easy. This ain't about you. It's Billy's truth. Earl would have wanted. You shut your mouth, Tom snarled, whirling. Some drifter from the city, turning my brother into this. I knew there was something off about you, hanging around like a bad smell. The slur hung unspoken but heavy, a Harlan heirloom passed down. Billy's chest caved, the fight draining like blood from a wound. Tom, please, just listen. But Tom was deaf to pleas, storming back to his pew amid a tide of murmurs, Emily trailing with wide-eyed apologies to neighbors. The service limped to close, hymns truncated, benediction rushed, leaving the church a pressure cooker of unfinished business. As the crowd spilled into the narthex for the luncheon, Billy slipped out a side door, gulping March air sharp with pine and thaw. Marcus followed, jacket flapping like wings, pulling him into a hug that crushed the breath from his lungs. You did it, Marcus murmured into his hair, lips brushing temple. Jesus, Billy. That was brave as hell. Billy sagged against him, tears hot on his cheeks. Brave or stupid? Tom's never gonna forgive me. And Dad? If he was watching, what does he think now? Marcus cupped his face, thumbs wiping salt tracks. He thinks his boy's finally free. Come on, let's get out of here before the casserole brigade descends. They drove in silence to the Hocking Hills, Marcus's truck eating miles of corn-stubbled fields, the radio murmuring Springsteen, Thunder Road like a bomb. Billy replayed the speech in loops, the shock on faces he'd known since diaper days, the way Marcus's eyes had lit with pride and fear in equal measure. By the time they parked at the Cedar Falls trailhead, the sun was a low smear on the horizon, painting the gorge in bruised purples. They hiked the path in dusk, boots crunching gravel, the waterfall's roar a white noise confession booth. At the overlook, Billy sank onto a boulder, knees to chest. I didn't plan that. It just poured out. Marcus sat beside him, arms slung casual but possessive. Good. Plans are for cowards. You were electric up there, raw, real. Like one of my photos catching the light just right. Billy leaned into him, the familiar scent grounding. Remember our first real date? That bonfire at Lake Hope. You burning those s'mores to charcoal? Marcus chuckled, low and warm. Hell yeah. You kissed me with marshmallow on your lip, and I thought, this guy's it. No games. No bullshit. They'd had plenty since. Fights over Marcus's wanderlust. Gigs taking him to Pittsburgh or Lexington, leaving Billy staring at an empty bed. Billy's insecurities flaring when Marcus flirted harmlessly at the bar. Echoes of Jake's ghost. But the making up was always fire. Slow dances in the kitchen to Coulter Wall on vinyl. Road trips to Cincy for drag shows at Arnold's. Nights where words failed and bodies spoke volumes. I love you, Billy whispered now. The words a vow renewed against the Cascades' thunder. Love you more, Marcus replied, sealing it with a kiss that tasted of river mist and forever. But forevers in Elmwood came with strings, and as they drove back under street lamps flickering to life, Billy's phone buzzed. A text from Tom. We need to talk. Family meeting. Now. The house on Maple Street loomed, lights blazing like a tribunal, and Billy knew the real funeral was just beginning. The Harlan living room hadn't changed since the 70s. Floral wallpaper peeling at the seams, Earl's lazy boy enthroned like a relic, the air thick with ghosts and the faint tang of Vicks VapoRub. Tom paced the faded Persian rug, fists clenched, while Emily hovered by the sideboard, pouring coffee into mugs chipped from decades of use. Aunt Lorraine and Uncle Hank from Zanesville sat ramrod on the couch, faces carved from Mount Rushmore stone. And Billy's mom, Clara, frail in her widow's black, rosary beads clicking like Morse code, perched on the piano bench, eyes downcast. Marcus had offered to wait in the truck, but Billy shook his head. "You're in this. Might as well face the firing squad together." So they stood side by side in the archway, hands brushing in defiant solidarity, as Tom whirled to face them. "What the fuck was that today, Billy?" Tom's voice boomed, veins bulging in his neck like rivers in flood. "Dad's barely cold, and you pull a stunt like some daytime TV drama? Coming out, with him, in front of God, the town, our family?" Billy's jaw tightened, the coffee Clara pressed into his hand steaming untouched. "It wasn't a stunt, Tom. It was the truth. Dad deserved that, me being honest. For once." "Truth?" Tom barked a laugh, bitter as blackstrap molasses. "Your truth spit on his grave. Harlans don't air dirty laundry in church. We don't. We don't flaunt that shit." The word landed like a slap. That shit, reducing Marcus to an it, their love to filth underfoot. Marcus stiffened, but Billy stepped forward, voice level. "Flaunt? I've hidden it for years, to protect you, to protect Mom, Dad. But hiding kills you slow, Tom. Dad knew that. He carried his own secrets to the grave." Clara's head snapped up, beads stilling. "What secrets, William?" Billy knelt before her, taking her cool hands in his. "Mom, after. When we cleaned out his desk, I found letters. From the war. To a guy named Tommy, his bunkmate in the Marines. They weren't just letters. Dad loved him, deep as the ocean. Lost him to a kamikaze off Guadalcanal. That's why he was so hard on us boys, afraid we'd break like he did." The room hushed, Tom's pacing faltering, Uncle Hank's pipe forgotten mid-puff. Clara's eyes welled, a tear tracing a path through powder. "Your father." "Oh, Earl." She squeezed Billy's fingers, a tremor in her touch. "He never said. But I felt it. In the nights he stared at the ceiling." Tom sank into the armchair, deflated. "Why didn't he tell us?" "Because love like that scares people," Marcus said softly, his first words since entering. "Makes them build walls." But Billy tore his down today. "That's not disrespect. That's honoring what Earl couldn't." Aunt Lorraine harumphed, crossing her arms. "Honoring? By dragging this lifestyle into a holy place? What about the kids, Tom?" Emily's boys hearing that mess. Emily flushed, stepping forward with quiet steel. "Lorraine, enough. The boys are 6 and 4. They think it's a fairy tale about princes who kiss. And Billy's family. That's what matters." The tension eased a fraction. Coffee sipped in uneasy sips, but Tom's eyes smoldered. "Family. Yeah. But you, Marcus, what's your angle? Show up out of nowhere, play house with my little brother, then watch him blow up his life? You using him?" Marcus's laugh was sharp, edged with hurt. "Using? Christ, Tom, I've loved Billy since the day I rear-ended his truck. Seen him through Dad's chemo, the nights he cried himself raw. What's your angle? Flying in for the photo op, then jetting back to your corner office?" Tom surged up again, chest to chest with Marcus, the air crackling. "I live in the real world, drifter. Mortgage, kids' tuition, a name to uphold. Billy had that too, until you." Billy wedged between them, palms flat on their chests. "Stop. This isn't a cage match. Tom's right, we had a life here. But it was half a life. Tom. Remember Sarah? That setup? I was dying inside. Tom deflated, searching Billy's face. I thought. You were happy. Quiet, but happy. I was surviving. Billy's voice cracked. With Marcus. I'm alive. Clara rose then, frail but fierce, placing a hand on Tom's arm. Enough fighting, boys. Earl's gone, and we're what's left. William, Billy, you've always been my gentle one. If this man makes you whole. She glanced at Marcus, praising. Then hold him tight. Life's too short. Like your father said. The room exhaled. Hank muttering about times changing. Lorraine pursing lips but silent. They dispersed to the kitchen for pie. Clara's apple. Lattice crust flaky as autumn leaves. Talk turning tentative to neutral ground. The plant's closure rumors. Tom's promotion. Marcus's latest exhibit in Columbus. Billy watched from the doorway. Chest loosening. The first fragile bridge spanning the chasm. But bridges burn easy, and betrayal waited in the wings. That night, after Marcus kissed him goodbye at the door, call me when the dust settles, cowboy. Billy retreated to his old room, the twin bed mocking his solitude. Sleep evaded, tangled in sheets that smelled of mothballs, until his phone lit the dark, a voicemail from an unknown number. Billy? It's Jake. From high school. Saw the service on Facebook, small town. You know. Damn, man. Call me back. We need to talk, Jake. The ghost returned, voice smooth as aged bourbon, stirring silt from the riverbed. Billy deleted it, but the seed took root, doubt creeping like ivy. The next days blurred, sorting Earl's tools in the garage, the clang of wrenches a dirge, drives to the crematorium for the ashes, Clara clutching the urn like a lifeline. Marcus texted constantly, hearts, photos of a red fox at dawn in the hills, but work pulled him to a shoot in Athens, leaving Billy adrift. Tom cornered him one afternoon in the backyard, beers in hand, the swing set from their childhood rusted and forlorn. Look, I overreacted. Church and all. But, you sure about this guy? I did some digging, guy's got a rep. Cincinnati scene. Hopping bars. One night stands before you. Billy's stomach nodded. Digging? What the hell? Tom. Just looking out. Found an ex. Some bartender. Said Marcus has a wandering eye. Loves hard, but leaves harder. Lies or truth? Billy shoved it down. But Jake's texts persisted. Missed you at the reunion. Coffee? For old times. Flattery. Nostalgia. A siren's call to simpler betrayals. The fracture widened at the wake. Held in the VFW hall with its faded flags and peanut shells on the floor. Neighbors clapped Billy's back, whispering support. Proud of you, son. But eyes lingered on Marcus, who arrived late from the road, dust-kissed and grinning. Over lukewarm punch, Jake materialized, all charm and cologne, cornering Billy by the raffle table. Billy Harlan, the quiet kid, speaks volumes. Jake's smile was wolfish, hand lingering on Billy's elbow. That speech, ballsy. Reminds me of us, young, reckless. Billy pulled away, pulse erratic. That was a lifetime ago. Jake, maybe. But lifetimes circle back. Jake's eyes flicked to Marcus, laughing with Clara across the room. He's not you, Billy. Not the guy who knew you first. The words wormed in, and when Marcus pulled Billy aside later, nuzzling his neck in the shadowed hallway, missed you, babe. Billy stiffened, Tom's warnings and Jake's ghost colliding. You ever, before me, like, really love someone else? Marcus drew back, brow furrowing. What? Where's this coming from? Just family stuff. Doubts. Marcus's face hardened, hurt flashing. Doubts? After everything? Billy, I'm all in. But if you can't see that, he trailed off, the unsaid hanging, then maybe we're done. They parted with a perfunctory kiss, Marcus heading back to his motel, Billy to the empty house where echoes mocked. The betrayal brewed overnight. Jake's invitation accepted in a weak moment. Coffee at the diner, just to talk. Jake spun tales of college regrets. His marriage crumbled. The what-ifs with Billy a road untaken. We were fire, man. Still could be. Billy left with a headache and guilt. But the seed flowered into impulse. A text to Marcus. We need space. Too much too fast. No call. No face-to-face. Just words on a screen. Cowards cut. Marcus's reply came swift. Space? Or Jake's poison? Fine. Take it. But don't come crying when it echoes. Then radio silence. Avoid swallowing Billy whole. April thawed Elmwood slow. Dogwoods blooming pink against the gray. But Billy's world stayed frozen. A tundra of regret and recrimination. The house on Maple Street echoed with Clara's soft hymns as she potted geraniums in the sunroom. Her grief a quiet companion. While Billy wandered like a specter, fixing the porch rail he'd ignored for years, sorting Earl's tackle box into neat rows of lures that caught nothing now. Tom's texts tapered to logistics. Ashes to the river next week? No mention of the incident. The family packed to pretend the speech a fever dream. Jake circled like a shark scenting blood. Lunches at the diner stretching to evenings at the Rusty Nail, where neon buzzed Budweiser and the jukebox spun Alan Jackson ballads. You're too good for drama, Billy, Jake would say, arms slung casual over the booth, fingers brushing Billy's shoulder in ways that sparked old fires but left ash. It was comfort food for the soul, familiar, filling, but ultimately hollow. Billy knew it, even as he leaned in one night after the third whiskey, Jake's lips grazing his in the parking lot, tasting of regret and rain. The kiss was a mistake, mechanical as a faulty engine, and Billy shoved away, while rising. No. This isn't me. Jake smirked, unfazed. Then who is? That photographer ghosted you yet? Billy drove home furious, the truck's wipers slashing at a drizzle that blurred the taillights. Marcus's motel room was dark when he passed, the vacancy sign mocking. Space, he'd demanded, but space was a vacuum, sucking light and air. Days bled to a week, then two. Billy's sketches turning dark, thorns instead of trails, faces shadowed and accusatory. Clara noticed, her hand on his at breakfast. The heart mends crooked sometimes, son. But it mends. The river scattering was a Sunday sacrament. The Scioto swollen with spring melt, gulls wheeling overhead like punctuation to prayers unspoken. Tom motored the rented John boat upstream, urn in lap, Emily and the boys waving from the bank where Hank grilled brats. No Marcus. Billy hadn't invited, the wound too raw. As the ashes swirled into the current, silver against green, Tom clapped Billy's back. Dad's at peace. You should be too. Peace felt like a foreign country, but Billy nodded, the lie his armor. That night, Jake pushed. My place? Neutral ground. Billy went, the apartment above the hardware store smelling of sawdust and takeout. Jake's hands insistent, clothes shedding like snakeskin. It was frantic, detached, bodies colliding without souls. Jake whispering, "I've always wanted this," as Billy stared at the ceiling fan whirring blame. Morning brought clarity sharp as a hangover. This was betrayal, not bomb. Billy dressed in silence, Jake snoring beside him, and slipped out to the truck, engine turning over with a growl that matched his gut. The drive to the hills was autopilot, gravel crunching under tires until he parked at their overlook, the waterfall a roar of accusation. He sat on the boulder, head in hands, the truth crashing harder than the cascade. He'd sabotaged the one real thing for Phantoms. Marcus's exhibit opening was that weekend in Columbus, fractured light. Queer Ohio posters plastered on telephone poles from here to the 71. Billy had marked it months ago, a red circle on the calendar like a wound. Now, pulled like gravity, a chance to mend or sever. He drove the hour south, city lights smearing the dusk, heart a drum solo in his chest. The gallery was in the short north. Brick walls hung with Marcus's prints. Rusted bridges over the Cuyahoga. Drag queens mid-twirl at Axis. A lone figure on a pier at dawn. Billy, unmistakable, back turned to the lens. Vulnerability etched in posture. The crowd milled, artsy types in ironic tees. A senator's aide with a rainbow pin. Reporters scribbling notes. Marcus held court by the wine table, button-down rolled to elbows, tattoo gleaming under spotlights, his laugh a hook in Billy's ribs. Their eyes met across the room, collision inevitable. Marcus's face shuddered, surprise, hurt, a flicker of longing, before he excused himself, weaving through admirers. "You came," Marcus said, voice neutral as Midwest plains, stopping a safe foot away. Billy swallowed, hands shoved in pockets to hide the tremble. "Had to. This." He gestured to the photo of himself, larger than life. "It's us." Or was. Was. Marcus echoed, bitter. "Yeah." Space turned into silence. "Then what, Jake? Tom's intel, or your own cold feet?" Billy winced. "Both." "God. Marcus, I fucked up. After the funeral, everything hit, family, Dad's secrets, the town's eyes. Jake was easy. Familiar poison." Marcus's jaw ticked, eyes stormy. "Easy? That's what we were? Hard." "No." Billy stepped closer, voice dropping. "You were everything. Still are. Panicked. Pushed you away because I couldn't face losing you for real." The crowd noise faded, the gallery a bubble holding just them. Marcus searched his face, the artist's eye dissecting layers. "You think betrayal's a one-off? I gave you all of me, Billy. Truck crashes, cancer vigils, that speech, I was there. And you ghost me for a high school fling." Tears pricked Billy's eyes. "Hot traitors." "I know. I'm sorry doesn't cut it, but it's all I got. I love you. Always have. Let me prove it." Marcus exhaled, shoulders slumping, the fight bleeding out. "Love's not a snapshot, Billy. It's the whole damn roll, blurs and all. But I've missed you. Every empty frame." They closed the gap, foreheads touching, breaths mingling in the charged air. The kiss was tentative at first, lips brushing like old friends, then deepening, hands fisting shirts, a dam breaking in whispers of, "Forgive me," and "Try." The crowd blurred. Applause for the next speaker a distant thunder, as they stole to the back alley, pressed against cool brick under sodium glow. It was reconciliation raw. Marcus's fingers in Billy's hair, tugging with need, Billy's nails raking back, marking territory reclaimed. They tumbled into Marcus's borrowed loft above the gallery, air mattress on the floor, takeout boxes shoved aside, clothes discarded in a trail of urgency. Marcus moved with purpose, kisses mapping apologies down Billy's chest, tongue tracing hip bones until Billy arched, gasping, "Please." It was slow then, deliberate. Marcus entering him with a groan that vibrated soul-deep, rhythms syncing like a well-oiled machine, whispers of mine and forever punctuating thrusts. After, spent and tangled, Billy traced the compass on Marcus's arm. "Where to now?" Marcus smiled, sleepy and sure. "Home. Wherever that is, with you. But homecomings carry aftershocks." Back in Elmwood, Tom waited on the porch, arms crossed, a six-pack sweating on the rail. "Heard you went to Columbus. Patch things up." Billy nodded, Marcus's hand warm in his. "Yeah. We're good." Tom cracked a beer, offering one to each. "Good. But there's something you need to know." He pulled a folded paper from his pocket, an email printout, time-stamped last month. From Dad's account. Sent to his lawyer before he died. About the will. Billy scanned it, stomach dropping. Earl dividing the house and savings even half to Tom, half to my son William, and his partner Marcus Reed, should they choose to build a life here. A codicil, scrawled in Earl's shaky hand, love's the truest inheritance. Don't squander it like I did. Tears blurred the ink. He knew. All along. Tom clapped his shoulder, gruff affection. "Yeah. Stubborn old coot." Said you reminded him of himself. Quiet storms. The brothers hugged then. Awkward but real. Marcus watching with a soft smile. But as stars wheeled overhead, Billy's phone buzzed. "Jake. Heard you're back with the drifter." "Mistake. Call me." Delete. Block. The past. Exorcised. Yet shadows lingered. Weeks later, at the county fair, cotton candy air, Ferris wheel creaking, Marcus vanished mid-laugh, phone to ear. Billy found him by the duck pond, face ashen. Shoots cancelled. Magazine folded. Back to square one. Billy pulled him close, amid the carnival din. Then we pivot. Together. My designs, your lens, Harlan and Reed, restoring more than furniture. Marcus's grin returned, tentative. Partners. Always. But the high wire trembled. Tom's promotion meant a move to Cleveland, leaving Clara in the big house alone. "Stay," she urged Billy over tea, eyes pleading. "Make it yours." Marcus hesitated, city dreams clashing with roots. But Billy saw the pull, the fear of stagnation. "We could try," Marcus said finally, "over diner pie. But if it chokes us." "It won't," Billy vowed, sealing it with a kiss under the diner clock. Summer baked Elmwood golden, fireflies scripting Morse in the humid nights, the Victorian on Maple Street reborn under Billy and Marcus's hands. They gutted the attic first, cobwebs and Earl's war trunk yielding faded photos. Young Earl arm in arm with Tommy on a beach, grins wide as the Pacific. Billy framed one for the mantel, Clara nodding approval over her knitting. "He'd like that," she said, voice soft as lamb's wool. The business bloomed organic, Harlan and Reed Restorations, a sign swinging from the carriage house, logo Billy's sketch of intertwined gears and lenses. Marcus shot portraits for locals, weddings at the old mill, portraits of farmers' wives with calloused grace, while Billy rehabbed heirlooms, a hope chest for the mayor's daughter, a banjo for the bluegrass festival. Evenings, they'd collapse on the porch swing, sweat slick and satisfied, beers clinking to toasts of "to us." Tom visited weekends, kids romping the yard, Emily baking pies that rivaled Clara's. The speech became legend, whispered at the feed store with nods of "about time." Jake slunk away after a tense run-in at the post office. Billy's were done final as a slammed door. Betrayal's sting faded to lessen, a scar adding texture, not tearing. But peace is fragile as eggshell, and Marcus's restlessness simmered. Late August, a call from an old contact, gig in Portland, documenting the timber wars, queer activists chaining to redwoods. 2 months, Marcus said over dinner, fork pausing mid-bite. Could be the break. Portfolio gold. Billy's gut twisted, fork scraping plate. 2 months? Now, when we're just settling? That's the trap. Billy. Elmwood's cozy, but it's a cage if we let it be. I need this. Need to know I'm more than the guy who fixes faucets. The argument brewed slow, words like embers. Billy accusing wanderlust of selfishness, Marcus countering roots of stagnation. You chose this, Billy snapped, voice rising in the kitchen where Earl once silenced storms. Us. Here. I chose us, Marcus shot back, hazel eyes flashing. Not a museum of what-ifs. Dad's house is great, but it's his ghost, not ours. Clara intervened with tea and wisdom. Love bends, doesn't break. Go. Marcus. Billy's stronger than he knows. Marcus left in September's amber light, truck loaded with camera bags, a kiss lingering at the door like unfinished business. Video calls. Every night. Billy nodded, throat tight. Bring me a pine cone. Proof of giants. The house echoed anew, Clara's humming a counterpoint to the ache. Billy threw into work a mural for the library, vibrant queer icons woven into Ohio folklore. A buckeye tree with rainbow leaves, a river spirit embracing its reflection. Locals grumbled at first, too flashy, but kids traced it with fingers, whispering stories, and soon it was town pride. Nights, Marcus's face pixelated on the screen. Rain-soaked protests, arrests under dawn skies, his voice weary but alive. Miss you, he'd say, hand pressing glass as if to breach the miles. Billy shared sketches, Clara's latest quilt, Tom's boy's first fish. Proud of you, Billy replied, meaning it fierce. October brought frost, leaves carpeting the yard like confetti from a ticker tape parade. Marcus's emails detailed the magic. Ancient groves whispering secrets, lovers linking arms against chainsaws, a community fierce as the trees they defended. This is why I shoot, he wrote. To capture what's worth fighting for. Billy's replies grew shorter, the distance a slow poison, doubts creeping. What if Portland claims him? What if I'm not enough? Tom's visit unearthed the fault. Over beers in the garage, tools laid out like surgical kit. He's coming back, right? Or is this the drifter in him winning? Billy bristled. He's not Jake. He loves me. Tom shrugged, cracking another. Love's a road. Sometimes it forks. The fork came mid-month. Marcus's call cut short by a raid. Then silence, days of radio void. Billy pacing the creaky floors. Phone clutched like talisman. Clara brewed chamomile. Shared Earl's letters. Tommy wrote from boot camp. Fear's the real enemy. Your man's fighting his. When the email hit, detained. Protest got ugly. Flying home tomorrow. Need you. Billy exhaled a month's held breath, driving to the airport in Columbus under harvest moon. Marcus emerged from baggage claim haggard, bruise blooming on his cheek, duffel slung weary, but eyes lit on Billy like sunrise. They collided in the arrivals lounge, hugs crushing, tears unashamed. "Scared me?" Billy murmured into Marcus's neck. "Cedar sent home. Sorry. Chains got too tight, literal and not." Marcus pulled back, grin crooked. "Brought you this pine cone, fist-sized, scales etched with resin." In the truck, confessions spilled. Marcus's terror in the cell, visions of Billy anchoring him. Billy's doubts, the mural a testament to holding ground. "We're the fight worth it," Billy said, hand on thigh as highways unspooled. Back on Maple, Clara waited with stew and stories, the house full again. They scattered the last of Earl's ashes in the backyard oak. Roots deep, branches wide. Clara reciting Psalm 23. Tom Skyping from Cleveland with a thumbs up. Winter crept in soft. Holidays strung with lights. Marcus's photos on the tree. Billy's ornaments hand-carved. New Year's. Under fireworks popping over the river. Marcus knelt in the snow-dusted yard. Ring glinting simple band of reclaimed gold from an old watch. "Marry me, Billy Harlan. Let's build our life. Ghosts and all." Billy pulled him up. Kiss ceiling yes amid sparks. "Hell yes." Spring cycled eternal. The mural expanded, now with a couple under the buckeye. Hands linked defiant. Elmwood shifted slow. Pride flags on porches. Reverend Hargrove's sermon on hidden loves. Tom walked Billy down the aisle at St. Mary's reclaimed space. Emily beaming. Clara dabbing eyes. Their wedding was small. Backyard affair. Hay bales for seats. Bluegrass fiddles. Cake from the diner with rainbow frosting. Vows echoed the speech. "I promise to speak truths. Hold you through storms. Love you loud." Rings exchanged. Cheers rose. And as dusk fell, Marcus whispered, "Truth revealed, and worth every word." Years layered like varnish. Adoptions of twins from Columbus foster care. Boys with Marcus's curls and Billy's quiet sketches. Gallery shows in Cincinnati. Restorations going national on HGTV. Earl's compass guided. Love's true north. Unerring. In quiet moments, on the porch swing creaking lullabies, Billy traced Marcus's tattoo. "We made it." Marcus smiled, lips brushing knuckles. "We did." Quiet sun, loud heart, and in Elmwood's gentle arc, truths didn't shatter, they illuminated, one revelation at a time.